What do you do when the happiest day of your life is shattered by the man you love, and the trust you've built with him is suddenly destroyed? The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting a soft golden light over my wedding dress as I stood in front of the mirror. My heart raced with excitement, the anticipation of the day ahead filling me with joy. I was about to marry Asher, the man I had loved for 3 years. Everything felt perfect, the flowers, the music, the laughter. But as I looked at my reflection, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Asher, who had always made me feel safe, was distant today, his smile forced. I couldn't help but wonder what was really going on. I'm Ren, and this was meant to be the happiest day of my life. My hands trembled as I touched the intricate lace of my gown, hardly believing this moment had finally arrived. "You look stunning," my mom said, her voice thick with emotion as she helped adjust my dress. My best friend Indigo was putting the final touches on my veil while my sister Rowan was working on my makeup. The room was filled with excitement and the sweet scent of flowers. I had dreamed of this day for so long. Asher and I had been together for 3 years, and from our very first coffee date, I knew he was the one, the way he made me laugh, how he always made me feel safe, and how he looked at me with such depth. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but whose is? We worked through our challenges together. The wedding preparations had been stressful, of course. There had been the usual drama with seating arrangements, my future mother-in-law's unsolicited suggestions about everything, and the florist disaster when they canceled 2 weeks before the wedding. But as I stood there, looking at myself in the mirror, none of that mattered anymore. "It's almost time," Rowan said, checking her phone. My heart skipped a beat. In less than an hour, I'd be walking down the aisle toward my future husband. The ceremony venue was breathtaking. White roses and baby's breath lined the aisle, filling the air with their sweet fragrance. Soft piano music played as guests settled into their seats, and through the window of the bridal suite, I could see Asher greeting people with that warm smile that had stolen my heart. "Ready?" Dad asked, offering his arm. His eyes were misty, and I could feel his hand trembling slightly. I squeezed his arm gently, holding back my tears. "I'm ready, Dad." The music changed, and my bridesmaids began their walk down the aisle. Then it was our turn. As the wedding march began to play, the doors opened, and everyone stood. The sight before me took my breath away. Our loved ones gathered together, the beautiful decorations, and at the end of the aisle there was Asher. The moment our eyes met, everything else faded into the background. He looked so handsome in his black tuxedo, but it was the way he looked at me that truly made my heart flutter. Tears filled his eyes, and that smile I loved so much spread across his face. Each step I took toward him felt like magic. Dad's steady hand on my arm helped me stay grounded as we walked toward my future. The ceremony was flawless. We had written our vows, and Asher's words brought tears to everyone's eyes. When the minister pronounced us husband and wife, the joy that filled the room was overwhelming. If only I had known then just how quickly joy could turn to pain. The reception started beautifully. The ballroom shimmered with hundreds of twinkling lights, and the DJ played our favorite songs. Asher and I had just finished our first dance, and everyone cheered as he dipped me at the end. In that moment, everything felt perfect. At first, I noticed something was wrong during dinner. Asher kept checking his phone, his smile becoming more forced with each glance. When I asked if everything was okay, he just nodded and said, "Fine." But I knew that look on his face. Something was bothering him. "Babe, what's wrong?" I whispered, touching his arm gently. He pulled away, something he'd never done before. My stomach dropped, but I tried to ignore the feeling. "It's just wedding day stress," I told myself. Then I saw him talking with his best man, Reese. They were in the corner, and Reese was showing him something on his phone. Asher's face changed. I'd never seen him look so angry. When he looked over at me, his eyes were different, cold, distant. I was talking with my college friends when it happened. Asher marched over, his face red, his hands shaking. "Can we talk?" he said, but his voice was loud enough that nearby guests turned to look. Before I could suggest going somewhere private, he held up his phone. Want to explain these? His voice cracked with emotion. On his screen were photos of me, supposedly with another man, but they were edited, badly edited. Anyone who looked closely could see that. Asher, those aren't real, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Really? Because Reese has been getting messages all day about you and Finn having an affair. Finn, my coworker who was happily married with 3 kids, the same Finn who was sitting across the room with his wife. Asher, please think about what you're saying, I pleaded, aware of the growing crowd around us. Those photos are fake. Someone's trying to hurt us. But he wasn't listening. Months later, I'd learn about the dozens of anonymous messages he'd received throughout the day, each one designed to plant doubts in his mind. At that moment, though, all I could see was the man I loved turning into a stranger. How long? He demanded, his voice getting louder. How long have you been lying to me? Was anything real? The music had stopped. Everyone was staring. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice calm. Asher, I have never cheated on you. Never. Those photos are fake, and if you weren't so upset right now, you'd see that. Stop lying. He slammed his hand on the table, making everyone jump. Glasses rattled, and someone gasped. I have proof. All those late nights at work, the business trips, were you with him? I looked around the room. My parents stood frozen, horror on their faces. Asher's mother was crying, and my sister was already pulling up Finn's Facebook page on her phone, probably looking for proof of where he was on the dates in question. But I didn't wait for any of that. The man standing in front of me wasn't the Asher I knew and loved. This man had let a few questionable photos and anonymous messages destroy his trust in me. I stood up slowly, the rustle of my white dress breaking the silence. I'm not going to stand here and defend myself against lies, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. When you're ready to think clearly and remember who I am, you know how to reach me. With my head held high despite the tears threatening to fall, I walked out of my own wedding reception. The drive to the hotel was a blur. My mascara streaked down my face, but I couldn't bring myself to care. The calm voice of the GPS telling me to turn right in 500 feet seemed almost mocking. How could everything around me feel so ordinary when my world had just shattered? I hadn't even taken off my wedding dress when my phone began to blow up messages, calls, and social media notifications all flooding in. Everyone had an opinion about what had just happened. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the endless messages. OMG, Ren, are you okay? I can't believe he did that. Those photos are fake. Call me when you can. Indigo, my best friend, had sent nearly 20 messages. I'm coming over, where are you? Please answer me. Finn's wife is furious. She's tearing Asher apart right now. I turned my phone off. I couldn't deal with it. The hotel room felt too big, too empty. My beautiful wedding dress, the one I'd spent months picking out, lay crumpled on the floor where I had let it fall. Just 6 hours ago, I had been a bride. Now I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. I looked at myself in the mirror, and the reflection confirmed what I felt: a mess. Half of my makeup had been washed away, replaced by tear tracks. My carefully styled hair had fallen flat. I looked exactly how I felt: broken. I tried to make sense of it all. Asher had always been the level-headed one in our relationship. He was the one who stayed calm when I was stressed about work, the one who could always see both sides of an argument. How had he changed so completely in a single day? The night stretched on endlessly. I replayed every moment in my head the way his eyes had shifted when he looked at me, the anger in his voice, the whispers from the guests. Sleep felt impossible. At 3:00 a.m., I finally turned my phone back on. Hundreds of notifications flooded in, but one message caught my eye. It was from Asher, sent just minutes ago. Ren, I've made a terrible mistake. I know you probably hate me right now, but please, when you wake up, let me explain. I found out the truth, and I've never felt more ashamed. I'll be waiting in the hotel lobby at 9:00 a.m. even if it's just for you to tell me you never want to see me again." I stared at the message until my eyes burned. What truth? And more importantly, did it even matter anymore? I finally managed to sleep around 4 a.m., but by 7:30 I was wide awake again. My phone showed 47 missed calls, over 200 messages, and countless social media notifications, but only one message mattered: Asher's from 3:00 a.m. I dragged myself to the bathroom, wincing at my reflection. Last night's makeup was a disaster, and my eyes were swollen from crying. As I splashed cold water on my face, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a long email from Asher with video attachments. "Ren, before you delete this, please watch the videos. I know I don't deserve your time, but you deserve to know the truth." My finger hovered over the delete button. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let him feel the same pain I'd felt, but another part needed answers. With shaking hands, I pressed play on the first video. It was security footage from the wedding venue, time-stamped early yesterday morning. A figure I recognized walked into the frame. Rachel, my former bridesmaid, the same Rachel I'd had to remove from the wedding party last month after she'd made a scene about not being my maid of honor. In the video, she was slipping something into Reese's reset, the same reset he'd worn while showing Asher those photos. The next video showed her talking to the wedding coordinator, clearly agitated about something. The timestamp matched exactly when the coordinator had mysteriously started sending all the photos and messages to Reese. More videos followed, each one revealing pieces of an elaborate plan. Rachel had spent the entire morning planting evidence and spreading rumors. She'd even hired someone to create those fake photos. The final video showed her gleefully watching from a corner as Asher confronted me. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Everything made sense now: the timing of the messages, why the photos looked rushed, why it had all happened so publicly. Rachel had wanted to destroy my wedding day, and she'd nearly succeeded. A new message popped up from Indigo. "Ren, have you seen the videos? Everyone has them now. Rachel's been posting on Facebook all night bragging about what she did. She didn't expect Asher to have access to the venue security cameras. She's deleted everything now, but we have screenshots." I looked at the time, 8:45 a.m. Asher would be waiting in the lobby for 15 minutes. My mind raced with questions. Yes, he'd been manipulated, but he'd also chosen to believe the worst about me. He'd humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. Could I forgive that? As I stared at my reflection, trying to decide what to do, another message came through. This one was from Finn's wife, Harlow. "Ren, we're pressing charges against Rachel for defamation. I've never seen such a calculated attempt to hurt someone. But first, go talk to Asher. He's been up all night gathering evidence to clear your name. He loves you, honey. Don't let that witch win." It was 8:55 a.m. Time to decide: stay here or go downstairs and face my husband. At exactly 9:00 a.m., I stepped out of the elevator into the hotel lobby. My heart nearly stopped. Asher wasn't just waiting. He was still in his wedding suit, looking like he hadn't slept at all. When he saw me, he stood up so quickly that he knocked over his coffee cup. He looked terrible. His eyes were red and swollen, his tie was gone, and his usually perfect hair was a mess. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the lobby. Other hotel guests walked between us, but it felt like we were in our own world. "Ren," he started, his voice cracking. "I don't even know how to begin." "Not here." I cut him off, nodding toward the curious onlookers. "My room." The elevator ride was silent. I could feel him watching me, but I kept my eyes on the floor numbers. Room 824 had never felt so far away. When we finally got inside, Asher broke down. "I'm so sorry," he sobbed, dropping to his knees. "I spent all night watching those security tapes over and over. I talked to everyone. I found all the evidence. Rachel, she played me like a fool. She knew exactly what buttons to push." I sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining distance. "Tell me everything. And he did. How Rachel had started small, planting tiny seeds of doubt weeks ago. How she'd manipulated Reese into showing Asher the photos at specific times during the wedding. How she'd timed everything perfectly to create maximum drama. "But that's not an excuse," Asher said, wiping his eyes. "I should have trusted you. You've never given me a reason not to. When I saw those photos, I lost my mind. But I should have known they were fake. I should have talked to you privately. You should have remembered who I am," I finished for him. 3 years together, Asher. 3 years of trust and love, and you let it all go in one day because of some badly edited photos. He flinched at my words. I know. When I finally calmed down enough to look at those photos, they weren't even good fakes. Rachel was counting on me being too emotional to notice, and I played right into her hands. "You humiliated me," I said, feeling tears start again, "in front of everyone we love." "I did," he admitted, "and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, if you'll let me. Ren, I love you. What I did was unforgivable, but I'm asking for a chance to try to earn your forgiveness." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Look at this. I've been up all night gathering evidence. Rachel didn't just target us, she's done this before. I found 3 other weddings she's tried to ruin. She's sick, Ren, and she nearly destroyed us." I took the phone, scrolling through screenshots, messages, and testimonies from other victims. "Have you shown this to the police?" He nodded. "They're picking her up this morning. Finn and Harlow are pressing charges, and so are the other couples she's hurt. But none of that matters if I've lost you." For the first time since he'd arrived, I looked at him. Behind the guilt and shame in his eyes, I could still see the man I fell in love with, the man who'd spent all night fighting to uncover the truth, the man who looked utterly broken at the thought of losing me. "I can't just forget what happened," I said slowly. "I know," he whispered, hope and fear battling in his voice. "But can we try to fix it?" As Asher and I sat in my hotel room, going through the evidence, the full picture of Rachel's betrayal became clear. My phone buzzed with a message from Indigo. "Turn on the local news now." We turned on the TV just in time to see Rachel being escorted out of her apartment in handcuffs. The news ticker flashed. "Local wedding planner arrested for multiple counts of harassment and fraud." "I can't believe she turned this into a business," I whispered, my eyes glued to the screen. Rachel had been charging people to sabotage weddings, jealous exes, angry relatives. Anyone with enough money and bitterness could hire her to ruin someone's special day. Asher scrolled through his phone. "Look at this conversation between her and Reese from 2 weeks ago. She convinced him I had a right to know about your affair because his fiancé had cheated on him the year before. She knew exactly how to manipulate him." Text after text appeared, showing how Rachel had built her web of lies. She'd created fake social media accounts months earlier, carefully laying the foundation for her plan. She even hired a photography expert to produce the fake photos. "Ren," Asher said softly, "there's something else you need to see." He handed me his phone, showing a conversation from 3 years ago between Rachel and my ex, Tom. "I swear I'll make her pay for choosing him over me," Rachel had written. "It might take years, but I'll destroy her perfect little love story." My hand trembled. "She spent 3 years planning this, just because I started dating you after Tom and I broke up? She was obsessed with him." Asher explained. "When you started dating me instead of giving Tom another chance, she lost it. But she waited. She was patient, biding her time until she could hurt you the most." Just then, Indigo burst into the room. "They found her planning notebooks." She had everything mapped out: when to send each message, when to show the photos, and even which guests to target with rumors. She was recording everything for some kind of revenge wedding planning guide she wanted to publish. I felt nauseous. All those months I'd spent planning my dream wedding, and Rachel had been planning its destruction. She'd smiled in my face while plotting to ruin everything I cared about. "The police need to talk to both of you," Indigo added. "They found evidence linking her to 5 other ruined weddings, They're building a case against her, but they need your statements. After giving our statements to the police, Asher and I found ourselves sitting in the quiet coffee shop where we'd had our first date. We hadn't meant to come here. Our feet had just led us to this familiar place. "I know sorry isn't enough," Asher said, staring at his untouched coffee, his voice thick with emotion. "But I want to do whatever it takes to fix this. Tell me what you need." I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I need time, Asher. What happened yesterday, what Rachel did, what happened between us, it broke something in me. I still love you, but I'm hurt. Deeply hurt." "I understand." He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "I'll give you all the time you need. Just please, don't give up on us." Our phones kept buzzing with messages of support. Friends and family had seen the news about Rachel's arrest. Everyone understood now, but the pain wasn't magically gone. "We need counseling," I said firmly. "Both couples and individuals. What Rachel did was awful, but we need to address why you were so quick to believe the worst about me." Asher reached across the table, hesitating before touching my hand. When I didn't pull away, he gently squeezed it. "Anything you want, I'll do anything. I'll do. And we need to have a serious talk about Reese's role in all this," I added. "He might have been manipulated, but he was still willing to help hurt me." "He's out as best man," Asher said immediately. "I've already told him. I need space to focus on rebuilding your trust." For the first time since everything happened, I felt a tiny spark of hope. The road ahead would be hard, but seeing Asher's willingness to do whatever it took to make things right gave me courage. "One day at a time," I suggested softly. "One day at a time," he agreed, relief flooding his face. Our phones hadn't stopped ringing since Rachel's arrest made the local news, but we needed to address everything our way, on our terms. Asher and I decided to post a joint statement on social media, not because we owed anyone an explanation, but because we wanted to take control of our story. "Hey, everyone," I started typing with Asher beside me. "By now, you've probably seen the news about what happened at our wedding. Yes, we were victims of a calculated attack by someone we thought was a friend, but we're choosing to focus on moving forward." The response was immediate. Comments flooded in. "We're so sorry we doubted you. We knew something wasn't right. Rachel is a monster. Take her down in court." But the hardest part was still to come. Facing our families. We arranged a small gathering at my parents' house. Everyone was there, both our families, our closest friends, and even Finn and Harlow. "I owe all of you an apology." Asher stood up, his voice shaking slightly. "I let a vindictive person manipulate me into doubting the woman I love. I hurt Ren, and I hurt all of you by causing such a scene." My mom, who hadn't said much since everything happened, finally spoke up. "You both have a long road ahead," she said softly. "But you have our support. What that woman did, it was evil, but don't let her win by giving up on each other." Reese wasn't invited to this gathering. He'd sent multiple apology messages, but we weren't ready to deal with him yet. His girlfriend, however, had reached out to me privately. She'd broken up with him over his role in the drama. The wedding venue called, offering us a free date to redo our reception. Several other vendors did the same. It was touching, but we weren't ready to think about that yet. We had more important things to focus on, like our first couples therapy session scheduled for next week, and my upcoming testimony at Rachel's hearing. She was facing multiple charges now, not just from us, but from all the other couples she'd targeted. "Whatever happens," Asher said, squeezing my hand as we left my parents' house, "we face it together this time. No more letting others come between us." I squeezed back. We had a long way to go, but we were on the right path. 2 weeks after the wedding disaster, Asher and I sat in our therapist's office, working through our third session. The tools we were learning, better communication, trust exercises, checking in with each other, were slowly helping us rebuild. "Tell Ren what scares you most," our therapist encouraged. "Losing you," he said without hesitation. "Every morning I wake up afraid that you'll realize you can't forgive me, that the damage is too deep." His voice cracked slightly. I reached for his hand, my voice steady but full of reassurance. "I'm still here," I reminded him. "Every day I choose to stay and work on us because I see how hard you're trying." We were slowly learning to have the difficult conversations that had once seemed impossible. We talked about why he had been so quick to believe those lies and how his parents' messy divorce had left deeper scars than he realized. While understanding didn't excuse his actions, it gave us the perspective to see what we needed to work on together. Rachel's criminal case was steadily moving forward. More victims were coming forward, and our testimony would help make sure she couldn't hurt anyone else. In a strange way, facing her together in court was a source of strength for us both. At home, we started creating new rituals. Every night we would sit down and share the highs and lows of our day, no distractions, just the two of us talking and really listening. Some nights we talked about the wedding day, processing the lingering emotions. Other times we focused on the future we were rebuilding together. One evening, as we sat on our balcony, Asher looked over at me and asked, "Do you think we'll ever have another wedding ceremony?" I thought for a moment before replying, "Maybe, but not yet. Right now, I'm more focused on building our marriage than planning another wedding. When we do it again, it'll be for us and no one else." He smiled, a smile that reached his eyes for the first time in weeks. "One day at a time. One day at a time," I agreed. 1 month after what should have been our wedding day, Asher and I found ourselves sitting on our favorite beach at sunset. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore filled the air as we shared a peaceful moment together. Rachel had pled guilty to all charges and was facing years in prison for her wedding sabotage business. The news had brought us a sense of closure, but we'd already moved past letting her actions define our story. "Look what I found," Asher said, pulling out an old photo booth strip from his wallet. It was from our first date, both of us making silly faces, carefree and full of excitement. "We'll get back to this," he promised. "Maybe even better than before." He was right. In many ways, we were stronger now, more honest, more intentional with our love. Our weekly therapy sessions had taught us how to truly listen to one another. We'd learned that trust isn't something given easily. It's something built, piece by piece, day by day. "I love you," I said, the words carrying more weight than ever. Not in spite of what had happened, but because of it. It was part of our story now. "Our story," he repeated, pulling me closer. "The good, the bad, and everything in between. Sometimes, the hardest storms bring the most beautiful rainbows." Is it possible to rebuild trust after it's been completely shattered by the person you loved and trusted most? Asher's confession and desperate plea for forgiveness didn't erase the pain of his betrayal. Yes, he had spent hours gathering evidence, uncovering Rachel's manipulation, and trying to prove that he'd been played. But the damage he caused in front of everyone at our wedding, his refusal to trust me in the first place, and the humiliation I felt, it was all too much to forget. I could see the regret in his eyes, but was that enough to undo the hurt? Asher's actions were deeply wrong. His blind trust in Rachel's lies, the public breakdown, and the emotional damage, those were not things that could be erased with a few heartfelt words. The trust we'd built over 3 years was broken in a single moment. However, it would be unfair to ignore the fact that he spent all night uncovering the truth and had taken responsibility for his part in everything that happened. His actions after the fact, though they didn't undo the damage, showed his genuine regret. The question remains, can someone who's hurt you so deeply ever truly make amends? What do you think? Can love and trust be rebuilt after something as devastating as this? Or is it a sign that it's time to move on? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you've ever been through something similar, share your experience. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more updates on how this story unfolds.